My name is J.D. McCabe. I'm a first-time author of a book called The Third Gift, My Dance with the Devil and Her Mother.
What inspired you to write the book?
There are several reasons to write the book. First of all, I think it's a crazy story. It's an unbelievable story, very complex, complicated, a lot of twists and turns. But it was the greatest amount of encouragement came from my female therapist at the time that said, when this is all said and done, and it was about a 5-year journey, she said, when this is all said and done, you absolutely need to write a book. Because there's not enough books out there about men on the other side of the equation, men in abusive relationships. And then, of course, family and friends that got pulled into it also encouraged me to do it. They're like, yeah, you absolutely need to write a book. And on my side, family and friends, they all gave me the names even before I started writing. They said, when you write your book, here's a name I want you to use for me in the book. So that includes attorneys, therapists, you name it. So it was interesting.
Yeah, can you tell me about your journey?
Yeah, I will try to take a 360-page book and condense it down. In essence, I was married on paper for 23 years. The first 17 years I would describe as, stable, normal, raising 2 kids, building a career. We moved several times from, PA to Kentucky to North Carolina. And then about in the 18th year is when the abuse really began to ramp up. False accusations, I guess, which I've learned so much along the way. But Michael, it was a classic example of projection and gaslighting to the highest degree. So everything that she started accusing me of doing, from infidelity to hidden prescription drug addictions to stealing money from our marital account, she was actually doing. And I would discover that. Through what the title of the book I think is perfect. I would discover that through the third gift. The first 2 gifts are my kids. The third gift was the accusation that I gave her a sexually transmitted disease. So she made that accusation through the attorneys while we were at our first mediation. And it was the beginning of many discoveries on my part, as I would spend hours and hours going through her medical claims and pharmacy claims, and discovered the hidden prescription drug addiction, discovered the fact that she had used our kids for 2 years to fill amphetamines in their names, and also discovered that she pretty much had contracted every STD out during the course of our marriage. And fortunately, I tested negative for everything, and I had been tested multiple times. But in addition to that accusation, as the abuse ramped up, I would spend 9 days involuntarily committed in a psychiatric hospital. I would come out of that, and it was part of my discovery when we moved through the courts into our alimony trial. I would discover that she essentially broke me down and set me up for that involuntary commitment. She was writing letters behind my back to my physicians at the time, and the exact letters, unedited, are included in the book. So the book is very raw and real. I've changed the names in a few locations, but the rest of it is absolutely factual. It's a nonfiction book. And when I wrote it, the editor's like, if this was a fiction book, I would have had to have sent several parts back to you to say you need to change this because this absolutely cannot be true. So I discovered that she set me up for the involuntary commitment, and then about a year after we had separated, as I was going through some medical issues through the course, towards the tail end of the marriage, I started experiencing significant weight loss and all sorts of unexplained medical issues, and I would discover that she had been poisoning me with arsenic. So I would confirm that through, and I can smile about it all now, but I confirmed that through a positive hair and nail test that was done by a liver specialist after, I explained everything that I had been through, and he tested my hair and my nails and found that I had been chronically exposed to arsenic. So arsenic survivor, domestic abuse survivor, and I'm blessed to say that emotionally today I'm at peace and I've got emotional freedom, all largely due to the fact that I've discovered the majority of the truth. We would never discover. She never did any jail time. I couldn't proceed with criminal charges because they said unless I went to the authorities, but they said unless you have direct proof linking it to her, there's nothing we can do. And she had destroyed the protein powder. She had, in spite of a court order, she destroyed her phone. She destroyed computers. And I would describe her as just, absolutely wickedly brilliant. Yeah.
How are you doing now?
I am doing great. I'm doing great. It's a great question. It took me a long time to find peace, and I found it about 2 years ago. So life is good. I've got a tremendous relationship with my kids. They're both young adults now, thriving, building their own lives. I'm back in a relationship and in a solid, stable relationship for the last 4+ years. And so yeah, life is good. Life is very good right now. Yeah.
How did it feel getting your whole story out there on the page?
It was a mixed bag. I would describe it that way. It was a double-edged sword. It felt very good to write it, but at the same time, it forced me to reopen all those boxes that I had, tucked away. And there are times, even now, if I'll go back and scan certain things as I look for material for some of my social media platforms, I'm like, wow, I completely forgot that has happened. And so it was cathartic, but yet again, when the book came out, I ended up going back into therapy for a little while because I experienced some post-traumatic stress, largely in part due to my time in the psychiatric facility. It was interesting because I was in a co-ed unit. I was in there with older adults. I was in there with younger kids that had legitimately tried to take their lives, and I would experience, some nightmares of these kids showing up at my house that I currently live in, with guns to their head. And there was nothing I could do, so I would experience some nightmares, which, again, went back through therapy just to have, objective voice help me to, get through that. But I have not been in therapy for the last 3-4 years, and things are good. Yeah.
How has the feedback been of people, going through similar things?
It's interesting because I've actually heard from 5 different individuals that had thanked me for writing the book. And in all cases, it was males. They discovered that their fathers who had remarried were being poisoned by their new stepmothers. They were older gentlemen, late 60s, early 70s, and their kids from a distance couldn't explain some of the health issues that they were seeing. So I've had at least 5 people, and then the support from both women and men alike has been, tremendous. And I should state that, I've any of the proceeds from the book I'm using to support several different nonprofits. So I'm looking to do some good with an awful situation and to give back to those in need. And there's a variety of different nonprofits that I've supported with some of the proceeds.
What are some of the nonprofits you're working with?
Well, the one of them's actually out of D.C. It's an endowment fund. A good friend of mine, his son was decorated military, and he took his own life stateside at the age of 26. So he created an endowment fund, an ROTC scholarship at one of the North Carolina schools. So I've supported him. I've supported an organization called the Mercy Center for Women, St. Vincent de Paul, No Kid Hungry. So there's been a variety of different nonprofits that I've been thankful to have been able to support. Yeah.
What do you do to help your own mental health?
That's a great question. One of the things that I've done is my faith was always good, but I have made God more of a priority in my life, and that has helped me to truly find peace. And the other thing that I do consistently, Michael, is continue to exercise, whether it's walk or get in the gym. I do my very best to stay active. And to keep myself distracted. But if I need to, I've grown in the area that if I recognize that I need to process something or I need to go see a professional, I have no problem going back into therapy if I need to do that. But things haven't necessitated that lately, which is great. But I try to stay active, and I have an attitude, which I call an attitude of gratitude. So I'm thankful every day, not only to be alive, but I'm also thankful for the gift that he gave me to be able to discover what in the heck was actually going on in my marriage. And I don't think people can understand it. And the sexually transmitted disease of all things was herpes that she accused me of giving her. And if she had not made that accusation, I don't know where I'd be today. I wouldn't have looked at her medical claims. I wouldn't have looked at her pharmacy claims. I didn't suspect that she was out there running around on me because she had an alleged, and strongly underline the word alleged, she had an alleged autoimmune disease she alleged it, began early in our marriage, and I never asked to see her medical records and took her at face value. But we would discover through our alimony trial and through subpoenaing her medical records that she actually doesn't have one. It's all in her head. It's all been fabricated. So that's the other complicating part of the story. Folks have asked me. They said, why would you stay in the marriage after you got out of a psychiatric facility? I stayed in the marriage for about 6-7 months, but it was because I was confused by what was going on. First of all, I was getting my feet back on underneath me and clearing my mind. But also, a lot of the signs that I started to see with her paranoia, her delusions, her outbursts, I would attribute to her autoimmune disease, which again, I would later discover that, she doesn't have one. So that's another complicating part of the story that I had to, sort through. That, wow, she has got some deep-seated issues, for sure.
What would you say to anyone going through a similar situation?
I think the biggest thing that I would say to anybody, whether it's man or woman, is don't isolate yourself. I did that for about 9 months when the accusations really started to heat up, and then her mother got involved. So everything that she was telling her mother believed, and refused really to have an open and honest conversation with me about what was happening. But I would say don't isolate yourself. I did that for about 9 months. I lost all sorts of objectivity. My family didn't get involved. My extended family didn't get involved until after I was, involuntarily committed. They came to town and said, we need to figure out what the heck is going on here. So I would say confide in somebody, whether it's a family member, a friend, somebody that you can trust, religious counsel, whoever it may be, because they will provide you with the objectivity that you're losing. And I had lost all sense of objectivity, and I started to internalize every accusation that was made. Of course, I knew I wasn't cheating on her. I knew I wasn't doing drugs. I wasn't stealing money from our marital account. But, she was very effective at leading me to believe that I was the problem in the marriage, And again, classic projection, classic gaslighting. So I would say find somebody that you can lean on, somebody that you can confide in. Isolation is dangerous, and it damn near cost me my life, for sure. Outside of the arsenic poisoning, just mentally, emotionally, I was pushed to the edge, very close to the edge. Yeah.
Have you seen the stigma of just talking about mental health lessening?
I think so. I think you're seeing more of the athletes, professional athletes that are coming out and talking about their own challenges with mental health and their struggles. So I think that we're starting to see it, become more broadly accepted that, that these folks need significant help. And I saw it firsthand, obviously, when one of the blessings of being involuntarily committed, and that's the way that I've shifted my mindset, was to look at it not from a victim's perspective, but from a survivor's perspective, and look for the blessings in the adversity. It was that I got to witness it up close and personal for 9 days across 2 different facilities, and see what true mental illness, looks like. And it was also, I never believed that I had bipolar, but I had been misdiagnosed with bipolar 2. But again, she was writing letters behind my back to really cement that with the physicians. But as I lived with it for 9 days, I came out of there really questioning that I don't have any mental health issues. And at the age of 49, when I was involuntarily committed, it's unheard of for someone to be diagnosed with bipolar 2 if you don't have a history of mental illness or depression or any history of it within your family, which I didn't. So, there were lots of blessings along the way, for sure. Yeah.
How has the book helped your healing process?
Yeah, like I said earlier to you, it helped me to put everything down on paper and to recognize really all that I was able to make it through with the support and love of my family and the strength from the man above. And it's helped me really to process and renew my sense of who I am as a father and who I am as a man. So I had lost my sense of identity as I was going through this until some of the truth started to come out. And that helped me to get, emotionally grounded again in who I was. But it's been very beneficial. And I've heard from quite a few people that have thanked me for writing it because they've either gone through it or currently going through a similar situation. So fortunately, I think others are starting to see a little bit of inspiration from it, perhaps. Yeah.
Where do you want to see your mission in the next 3 to 5 years?
What I'd like to do, I'd like to, I'm going to continue to, I always question myself, Michael. It's like, how much longer do I want to, promote the book? But I want to do some more speaking engagements around it. I've been blessed to do a few. The one that I'm really proud of is we're doing a talk at the U.S. Marine Corps base in Barstow, California, a couple of years ago. Yeah, in front of 85 to 100 Marines dressed in their fatigues. And the interesting thing with that is that there were quite a few male Marines that came up to me afterwards and wanted to know how long I was going to be on base because they wanted to have a conversation with me. And some of the stories that they shared that they've gone through or are going through like blew my mind. So I'd like to continue to share my story and to continue to do speaking engagements and such. And then on top of that, I also have a full-time job. So this is something I'm doing on the side. Yeah.
How can people reach out to you and learn more?
Yeah, if they want to, I'm on all the majority of the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. TikTok is where the book kind of took off. We had put up a video that went viral. We put up a little video around the arsenic poisoning, and that's had 15 million views. So they can find me on my social media platforms at The Third Gift, and then I've got a website which is thirdgift.com because the third gift was taken. So they can find me there, or my email is thethirdgiftbook@gmail.com. Yeah, and the book is readily available on Target, Amazon, Walmart, all your online retailers. There's an audio book in addition to a hardcover and a paperback. And the audio book I actually recorded in my home here. So I narrated the book from my closet upstairs. So yeah, that was an interesting process as well. So